Become a member and support the channel. Old World Tactics, Battle Reports, the 2 Plus podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, and welcome back, Alex, to our second recording of this recording of the next 2 Plus podcast episode. We've just had a half an hour dry run where I forgot to hit record. So welcome to the real thing, guys. We're doing it again. We're back talking about the old world, and in particular, we're talking about tournaments. Alex is running one this weekend, and it's a warm-up tournament for the Warhammer series that's played in Western Sydney, which we've spoken a lot about on this channel. But there are 10 players in it so far, and there's some pretty specific comp ideas around the tournament. So, Alex, why don't you run us through? I'll bring up the pack, but why don't you run us through the first impressions after you've now seen the lists, the 10 lists, the variants in them, or lack thereof?
Yeah, lack thereof is what was surprising. So when we thought about the 25% format at Winter Warfare, immediately sort of went to Warriors of Chaos as having, well, maybe being advantaged by that. I think we thought maybe you could take a lot of pegs at Bretonnia, but you're not going to be able to squeeze in the characters anymore. Empire gets a little bit better with a lot of their key units in special, but most armies are losing one of the key characters to what they do and not gaining a lot from their specials. What I wasn't ready for was 4 Warriors out of 10 lists straight away. Admittedly, 3 Empire as well. But given, I think when you show the pack, Paddy, that I tried to put in some incentives to limit certain things, it wasn't just that people played Warriors anyway. It was that Warriors came through unscathed from any sort of attempt to comp. And the armies that I didn't want to comp, and I'm super happy are going to be there, got smashed by generalized categories that I'd created based on what was at the top of the metagame. And they were the ones now that end up getting penalized. So I don't know what word we decided on in the dry run. What was it before? Hostile? Injurious?
Injurious.
I've done...
Jeopardized.
Jeopardized. Yeah. Like, it's just really... I'm glad... So for people at home, the comp doesn't affect best general. You can take the hardest list you want and still win a prize for coming first in the gameplay. However, there are some factors to do with list design and sportsmanship on the day that will lead to a best sports award, and there's a combined award for best general, best sports as well, best overall. So yeah, tried to target the unit strength of flyers, unit strength of skirmishers, levels of magic above 4, combined profiles that had multiple saves, infantry or any unit that had a unit strength over 20, and ranged attacks like gunline type armies. And in the end, I don't know if the Warriors players made adjustments to sort of fit into this better, but overall, the Warriors, 4 Warriors lists that came through, they have a little bit of variety within them, didn't get comped at all. And the Empire lists, the Royal Clan list, the Host of Towson list, and the Demon list that are coming all got hit in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, we're still seeing a naked Chaos Dragon.
Yeah,
we're seeing and 2 Warpfire Dragons.
Yeah, so he can forego that ward save if he wants on the naked dragon to so it doesn't have 2 saves to keep the points.
So is it if he just doesn't use it in the game, he doesn't?
Yeah, as to say at the start of the tournament, I'm not going to take it.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because it's inbuilt, so it sort of has that little asterisk there. That if you couldn't avoid it, you can choose to turn it off.
Yeah, and that's like at the start of the game or the start of the tournament?
At the start of the tournament, so it'd be for the whole tournament.
Yeah, okay. Because you can see in the comp there, and we should point out this is just one element of it. So you can still win the entire tournament with a really strong list, but you're only eligible for the best general award, right? Is that correct? And then there's a separate award which is equal in value to the person who wins the most games, who gets the least comp out of this. Is that correct? The least affected by this, and then the person with the most battle points and the least affected gets 100 points. So the idea was that you'd expect people would kind of tiptoe the line of the battle points impacting your list and maybe cop a hit here or there, but really still take a strong list that wins the tournament, but probably makes you ineligible for best Warhammerer. And then you'd expect someone like the Talson army, who, although a lot of people haven't seen it on the tabletop yet, you'd expect isn't very strong. You'd hope that person has something to gain out of the day by having zero impact out of this. What do you call this comp? Is it comp?
Yeah.
But do you think that's what's going to happen at the end of this?
No, I think it's already not happened. And I want to preface that I spent a long time thinking about it, getting feedback from people. It wasn't just like a thought bubble, as well. And it's been interesting because I just don't think you can do it anymore. And I know you might think separately, Patty, but I think when I was going through the lists and doing the battle points, ultimately what it came down to is they're baked into the game are just attributes to units, and you can't really bring them up in an artificial way. Like, you can come and bring sword masters and maybe play them well, or they don't die or something, and you can say they contributed to you winning, but I don't think there's anything you can do in a comp way that's going to make them playable in this format. Like, I think you're just going to, that's what I worry about. Like, just looking at how it sort of played out, I'm like, well, we know what's good, but what's good is so much better than what's average. What's average is so much better than what's crap. And that's been what's played out to us, or played out to me at least. I'm not sure if you agree, in the games that I've played. When I've tried to play an underwhelming list, the game has been bad. So I don't know, that's the other bit that's sort of come up in a bit about these conversations as they're evolving, that you also don't want to play against something that's just trash as well and burn through it. And if you remember, like, I played our other brother, Jem, with a list that I considered all of the B grade units or C grade units, and I was just like, couldn't do anything. Like, everything just died, couldn't get any spells off, that sort of thing. So,
that felt like, though, because I was playing the table next to you when we did that little round robin day, which was fun, but that looked like it was the list mismatch. It wasn't necessarily that you had all the bad stuff. It's that Jem didn't have the bad stuff in comparison, which I've been saying for a long time since on this channel, and it rings true to the most fun games I've had in the old world. There's been open discussion about list building in the lead up to it. It's not like, hey, let's play this Friday, I'm not going to tell you what list I'm bringing and you don't tell me, because then you just get the inbuilt disparities from faction to faction, which are unavoidable if you do blind list building. But if you say, hey, I'm bringing 20 Eternal Guard this game, and that's like my prime example, that indicates that I'm putting 380 points or something, whatever it is, into a very mediocre unit. I hope that means that you're going to adapt your list. Don't break it complete crap, but maybe don't bring, Tomb King on a dragon and two bloody, what are they called? I always forget it. Necrosphinxes. Because it's just going to be unenjoyable. And if you enjoy intentionally, like, outlisting someone for the point of winning, then I don't know, is that the right frame of mind for the game? But in a tournament, you just can't avoid that. So unless you are, and it's encouraged, as it should be. I know there's this idea of events versus tournaments, but if there's a prize on offer, people are going to want to win it. And if there's Masters points or something like that on offer, people are going to want to win it. You'd be very hard pressed to get 40 people in a room playing Warhammer without a handful of people having top tier lists, because that's what some people like to do, and it's fine. But it's very hard to create a setting where all the lists are going to be balanced, and I think it's almost time to kind of just accept that it's not.
Yeah, I do. In my experience, look, other people will do different things, and more power to them. And I think there's other formats. Like, I think the Winter Warfare thing is the closest to, I'd say, what's good, where there's a few adjustments, but there's things that you just can't shake. Like you can't change the rules of the game because then you're going to have too many issues with each other. Like, but you can change the scenario, and so that's sort of something between you, especially in Warhammer. It's 3D, so I think, even if you get to the table and you haven't read the pack, which kills me, that you wouldn't, and then expect the other player to teach you how to play the game. But at least if you can see, oh, hey, there's a tower. What does that do? There's some sort of game happening. But yeah, like to me, the thing that struck me as I was looking at the list was like, unless they change the points values of these units, you can't fix it. But that's too big a thing to do as well, because people come with their books. The books are already outdated. That's why I don't buy them with the erratas. But yeah, at a tournament, the more people you have, the more you need the rules to, I guess, be like the law. And the less people you have, the more you can negotiate those things. And I guess you go to events to meet like-minded people. And if you want to play a certain way, which I sort of certainly want to play more diverse lists, less power, you've got to sort of work that out on the side. You're not going to be able to do it at a tournament.
Yeah, so we spoke about what lists kind of skated through your grand idea for comp, and let's have a quick look at some of the ones.
That one didn't, with its 30 skirmishes, sadly.
And I know that might,
Paul.
as a
I've laid you
blanket
down,
rule, 30 skirmishes, people will gag a little in their mouth. But when it's 3 units of 10 dryads, maybe it's not so bad. And so he's running the Talson, Host of Talson Arcane Journal, Army of Infamy, which is just out. And like, there's some strong stuff in it. There's 2 tree men, Orion, who, unfortunately for me, the frenzy makes him unplayable, but he's definitely fun. 3 units of dryads, 7 Eternal Guard, because you have to take them, and you can take the Ruby Ring, which is that's the competitive thing you do with them, which is fine. Eternal Guards still suck. 5 Glade Guard, which you don't have to take anymore, but it'd be weird to have a list without shooting. 9 Treekin. Anyone who doesn't want to see 9 Treekin on the table can bloody look the other way. So in your comp setting, he's taking a battle points penalty because of these 3 units.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because it's over 20 units of skirmishes. And I don't think there might be an option to play Dryads open order, but I don't know. Okay. So he can choose to play them open order and take no hit.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can
but I would be
do
wanting
that.
to encourage, like, the whole point of comp is so someone could play that sort of list.
Exactly.
Which I would say has nothing good in it. Like, we've talked about Treeman. I'd say, like, it's good, like, in terms of fun. Like, Treekin, okay, Dryad's okay, Orion's probably okay in some circumstances, but I wouldn't say any of those units is A tier, let alone S.
But if you had a list that was of similar skill value, similar power
Awesome.
level to this,
Like, we're
it'd be
trying to...
a guaranteed fun game.
Yeah, well, in the background, you and I, what we're trying to do is create scenarios for Wood Elves and Beastmen, and that's what makes me much more excited, like, about playing a list like this. I would want to play it.
We've got another one that's impacted, and it's our good friend Alex Searle from the Old World Behemoths. Check them out on YouTube if you haven't already. They're making some great stuff out of Sydney as well, and we've played a few games against these guys, and it's always a good time. And Alex is trying to be the flag bearer for Demons of Chaos. Never been played, I want to say, at Oldhammer 5 times round. So he, unless someone else is bringing them as well, will be the first one to do it. And again, they're not brought very often to any tournament. So this is another list that's comped from your comp setting. But again,
smashed.
You wouldn't say it's broken. He's got a great unclean
Definitely
one.
not.
2 units of Pink Horrors, 2 units of Plague Bearers, 5 Chaos Furies, 3 Flamers, 5 Seekers, a Soul Grinder, and 3 Plague Drones. So Plague Drones, do they comp? I forget. Is that?
Yeah, the Plague Drones are what kills him. So he's getting done. He's got 10 levels of magic, so we could put that to the side. A lot of people wouldn't like that. But underneath that, the Plague Drones are flyers and they're skirmishes. There's no open order Plague Drone. So when he puts them with Furies, he crosses over the 10 threshold for flyers, but then the seekers and the flamers takes him over the threshold for skirmishes as well. And yeah, I sort of cooled on demons pretty quickly. Lizard men have no hammers, demons have no anvils. I would really like to play demons at this event, but I just couldn't get the army together that I wanted without one spending a lot of money or two thinking that it was above like a D plus. So yeah, like I want to see Alex play this. I think the Great Unclean One's awesome. He's doing a lot of things that are in the game that don't get used a lot, like the Great Unclean One, Plague Flail, Dark Magic, Flamers even are going to shock people that they Soul Grinder, that sort of thing. But yeah, he gets hit the most on comp.
It's a shame. And the last one, which I think is absolutely hilarious, because I've been wanting to see one of these on the table for a very long time. And you've just gone around and said, not on my watch, Ewan, your Lector of Sigma on a war altar with the white cloak is getting woodcharred by 3 battle points penalty.
Yeah. So it's all over the shop. Like, this was a combined profile thing. Thought we were countering big characters and big saves, but instead the war altar and the white cloak interact to give 2 saves, which means it takes a hit. But
it's a shame, because like this...
It's an embarrassment, Paddy.
Yeah. on you and us, but
indictment. Maybe that's the word.
That's the word. But you look at these things, and it's so clearly targeting the broken things in the game, but too generally is my perspective of it. Like, as you just saw, things are getting caught up in this that aren't broken just because of the disparity of points across factions. Like, pegs don't cost the same as other flying skirmishes that are not broken. So they don't have the same impact, but this was targeting pegs. Or the, as you said, the multi-save split profile is targeting dragons, essentially, but the war altar gets caught up in it.
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't have, like, although there was the big ones, I definitely had a broad spectrum in mind that, like, okay, it's not just your Star Dragon, it's also, like, sucks when they put all those saves on a Manticore. Or the skirmishes, like, people, it just slows down the game having 60 skink cloud. I was definitely thinking broad spectrum over 3 months, but it's just, the proof is in the pudding. And it's great because people can get too abstract about the game and talk about lists and just theory hammering. And it only took, like looking at the list. So I'm very, very glad I have that best general category. So people are now getting the opposite out of the game. At least if I'm a bad sport, I'm having a game out of it. But yeah, it just hasn't worked. And I've spent too much time on this now to think that, there are just things. There's many things in Warhammer that I've learned to accept. This is going on that pile.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite one in there, which we'll get into a second, is the unit strength one, which I think is almost as bad as dragons in this game. It's giant blocks of unkillable infantry. So in your comp pack there, it was unit strength 20, I think. Anything above that, you start getting impacted, which I think is totally fair. I played against Mike a couple of days ago. He's playing dwarves, and we'll get into it in a bit. But it's so... Like, to me, I know certain armies have to play that way, like dwarves, or they're built to play that way. But it's it just narrows the amount that can happen in a game. And a lot of people will say, you're a Wood Elf player, shut the hell up. But I don't know. Like, I feel like the Wood Elf thing compared to big blocks of infantry that you can't break because you're strength 3, and a lot of stuff is strength 3 or strength 5. That's just not good enough. It's less engaging than evading a dragon, which also sucks. But at least dragons look cool, which was something that was said when the Old World came out, and everyone was like, dragons are busted. Like, they're going to ruin this game. And hey, maybe they have, but they look cool, where I don't think 35 infantry in a block ever looks cool. I think 3 lots of 20 looks cool, but when you've got 600 points in one unit, to me, that's like immersion breaking, where a single dragon is not. So it's such a difficult line to tiptoe because I thought that was a good comp, and I should share actually the other dwarf player, Josh, because he maybe unknowingly, and Josh, if you're watching, there's the slightest change you can do just to not get hit, but maybe it's the only option you have. I'm sharing it now. Josh has 21 Royal Clan warriors. Just make it 20 and you're fine. There's 20 Longbeards. Make it symmetrical. He's probably going 3 lots of 7. And he wants
minus
that.
3.
Yeah, -3.
And make people wear like post-its. Put
Yeah.
5 post-its on Alex Still.
Yeah,
-3.
they've got it. You should give them stickers as they walk in. Okay, so that's 15
I should wear
stickers.
all the stickers. It's just what a mess. So yeah, we'll do it. Someone will get $50, and we're going to move on with our lives. But that, like, I've sort of been stayed out of some of this stuff in the local scene with sports as much as other people. Like, even though, like, once upon a time, probably had strong opinions, but I think that it's just have to accept certain things about the game. They're just issues you can't resolve. You can between people, and the people you can, you end up great friends with them, and there are people you can't do it with, and you probably never want to play them again. And ultimately, you've just got to go to a tournament and decide, is it worth the risk of that happening, of making a new friend, versus what the opposite is. I don't know.
Wise words.
What is the opposite of making a new friend? I mean, it's not like
it's not an enemy because
it's not
like,
an enemy. It's
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh.
I'll find out. There's probably a German term for it.
2+ episode 10. We'll get into that.
What is the opposite of making a new friend? That's a good title for this.
But the tournament is open still. There's 2 spots.
2 spots. Yeah.
So if you're in Sydney, Western Sydney in particular, spots are still open. Let us know. The Discord is in this description to this video, as all of our other videos. So jump in there, get into the tournaments channel and say hello, and Alex will sort you out with a ticket there.
Gameplay is unaffected. So if you just want to come and practice for Winter Warfare or play 2,000 points with a 25% character restriction and Renegade, you're good to go.
Other stuff that's good to go are our 2+ supporters, which is every week or every couple of weeks we do this video, I suppose. We need to give these guys a shout out because they're what's allowing us to keep dedicating time and effort into this. So Ghost, Silver Dave, Sick, Pandem Wargaming, and our new guy, Brian Havens. Welcome to the 2+ Club, and thank you again,
Thank you,
guys.
Brian.
Yeah, really appreciate the support. If you don't want to become a 2+ supporter, that's fine, but liking, commenting, subscribing is always appreciated. So again, thanks guys for that. But let's get into a couple of the games that we've been playing recently, because that's what we like to do on this channel. We don't like to just talk about Warhammer. We most importantly like to play about it. So play it. When was the last time you played? Was it Michael?
Yep. About 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And that was scenario 3 of Old Hammer. How did that go? So you were running an adapted version of the Warriors of Chaos list that I played against you. What changes did you make and why, and how do you think the game went?
Some cosmetic changes to the Demon Prince. I had Armored Meteoric Iron. I don't know if I had a Shartak as well with the Blackened Plate. So it's probably just like cut down. You had a larger amount of Chaos Warriors. I only have 10. The game was very interesting. So probably my main takeaway is how people talk about you want experience with an army, and that counts for something. I think that's true, but it is interesting to play a new army. I play a lot of new armies, and you learn a lot about yourself and how you play. And I think I have to adapt the way I play. Like, I play too cagily and not against the odds. Like, I have this Demon Prince, I think I worked out later, has like a 4% chance of dying to a cannonball. But like, I've just got to take that chance, but I sort of hit it the whole game. And it restricted from what I could really do against what was a very like toughness 3 type army that the magic missiles should just mince, really. So yeah, that was really interesting to me, and I thought about that and like how in Warhammer you sort of have to just, something's going to die, you got to play the odds and go forward. Michael was playing some interesting stuff. Like he had Outriders, which I thought were really good. The pistols, I think, are an underrated. Repeater pistols, I think, are an underrated. Thanks for the photo, Penny. An underrated thing in the game, especially when they add to res. But like strength 4 armor piercing attacks, a lot of the once they start getting better ballistic skill, really good. But overall, I played the game in the way to win scenario 3, and needing to have them more standards than him at the end. And throughout the game, it was obvious that I was losing on points but winning the scenario. I felt the whole time, and that's what happened. Like, I think I probably lost by about, I don't know, 12-8 on battle points, 400, 500 points. Yeah, it was something like that. And then, so the 50% thing was good. Again, like it put a lot of pressure. Killed my dragon in the end. It took a lot of damage. But just the amount of battle points I was getting from standards was massive. And I ended up winning by at least 2 battle points. So maybe it was 11-9 and it went to 13-11 or something like that. But yeah, I got whittled down. I played way too passively, which was good. Now I've sort of learned I can push things forward. But yeah, if you look on the screen, there'll be videos coming about this little maneuver I did here after, even though like I failed a charge with Dragon Ogres on a 5. But because of their tank capacity and the warriors we've been talking about, I was able to hold the line until the Demon Prince could get in and rip up combat. But so yeah, converted to the Demon Prince in this format. Warp Fighter is still fun, even though it died. Chaos Knights, skill testing, but all of the Anvil units for warriors are so good. Just yeah, love them.
They are good. Toughness 4 across the board, essentially, is just so nice to have. I'm now getting a taste of it with playing orcs, and like toughness 4 and armor. It's just such a luxury. Like,
yeah, all that armor.
Wounding on 5s as a strength 3 player usually is so punishing, and the fact that Chaos Warriors and Knights, I presume Chaos Knights as well, have weapon skill 5. Chosen definitely do. Like, you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s a lot of the time at worst. Yeah. And it's just such a luxury to have. They might be slow, they might be expensive, but if they get there, they generally win, unless someone has outmaneuvered you.
That was my mistake. You've just got to take the attrition and get there. And I played them like elves, where I sort of defended, or like maneuvered, and then ended up on a 3-on-1 combat. So like I did a lot of damage in the first combat, but then they all splayed out from the various sort of pursue nonsense and things like that. And yeah, it was good to get the sort of geometry of the game and the space, and realizing that, look, I just got to run at some of this stuff. And if the guy hits the 4% cannonball, well, say la vie, that's the game, you know, which is what makes it fun as well. It'll be the other guy's greatest moment, you know, of the year in Warhammer.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll get into my game with Mike in a sec, but he rolled, he was of course playing his indirect fire grudge thrower strategy, and he hit the indirect grudge thrower on my Warhawk, who only had a 5-up save. And it was this whole thing where I allowed him to re-roll something, and then he rolled the perfect distance. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, man," and rolled to wound and rolled a 1.
Yeah,
it's just always
happens 1 in 6 times.
It's got to be 1 in 3. The maths is wrong. I've seen so many failed cannon shots. It's ridiculous.
The Empire cannons are so good, though. It's so good, like to the point where they're A tier. Like, you know, there's the Peg, Mortcolt, Dragon triple save tier in my mind, but underneath it, you've got things like cannons, Sisters of Avalon, Night Goblin Fanatics, those sorts of things. Like, I think that are just like so good. Like, the game at the A tier is good. I'm not unhappy about cannons being great. Like, I think it's great that a bunch of T3 guys can stand back there, and you have to get these cannons. Like, I thought I can evade them. No, you just got to go after them and lose some stuff on the way in, which is the main reason why I prefer playing Warriors to Beastmen, because Beastmen, you do just always lose some stuff, but they get to sort of pick what you lose. Whereas with Warriors, they don't get to pick as often, I don't find.
So you were playing the third objective from Oldhammer, which is get a standard in your opponent's deployment zone. You get a bonus point.
Yeah.
If you finish the game with more standards on the table anywhere, you get a bonus 3 battle points. How did you find that? So you said you lost 12-8 on a pretty spread out kill points.
11-9 probably, I think. I think it was 13-11, yeah. I definitely lost, and I lost well. I wasn't beat. It was close, but I was beaten, but not beaten badly. But I played the whole game with that in mind. So I want to give credit to Michael. Like, he's playing it, at least it was pretty fluffy. It wasn't, me being passive. His White Wolf unit ripped into my Dragon Ogres, and then the Demon Prince mauled them, and that was seriously probably the only other damage I really got done. I couldn't catch his... So he used Illusion Magic on a Griffin Standard block unit of Pikemen, which I love Griffin Standard, and that just delayed. There was some close combats, but I don't think I got the 50%. I was sort of unlucky not being able to kill his wizard on some rolls. He got the Warpfire Dragon in the end with lots of different types of damage. So that sort of did it. But I just, what I guess for people who are playing, because I've played all these scenarios now, is you are sacrificing something in the list to secure the objective. So you are just playing at this disadvantage the whole time. So you just got to be ready to know in the back of your mind, I'm trying to achieve this, therefore my 200 points of Marauder Horseman, that I have to navigate around these forests for the whole game, and maybe there's another video coming out in this, is really critical. Or even with the towers, if you're going to put something in there, it's going to have to stay there and not do much else anymore. So
yeah,
it's good Warhammer though, I think.
It is, yeah. We've now both played every objective for Oldhammer prep, and the tower one undoubtedly for me has the most impact on the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can win without capturing a tower or have them both clear at the end of the game. They're too easy to capture, and if you have no way to capture or clear it, you're going to be stuffed. The banner ones I found less impactful, but still impactful. I think the second one, which is table quarters, is the least impactful, because you tend to just be like, let's bash each other up. Oh shit, it's turn 5. I'm going to chuck one over here, maybe try and chuck one over here, and if we get 2 each, it's fine. But this one, I didn't bring enough banners, is what I learnt, to my game against Mike. And it became a thing. This is our game here. So this is what I was talking about, the aesthetic of huge infantry blocks. It just doesn't do it for me. It does for some people, and power to you, and that's fine. Because
it's sort of good in one way, but not good in another way. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's small, isn't it? When I saw the Darby After Dark list for the first time, I was shocked at how little footprint it had on the board. And that's not just dwarves in general. They're just oh wait, there's literally 3 things. There's the anvil, there's these 2 units, and maybe there's a pony car. And you're just why would you? So that's when I thought, why would you go and attack that?
Yeah, and that's
there's so much space in Warhammer.
So this is, we spoke about this in the lead up, me and Mike, in the list building process, which I like to do, and I quite easily could have brought 42 poison shots, killed his artillery, magic missiled his scouts here and his gyros, and then just not done anything to these 2 and won. And I was saying to you during the week that if I wanted to, and I could tailor my list, I don't think I would lose to dwarves unless it was gyro spam, ever. Because the matchup of wood elves v dwarves, 32 inches versus 30 inches, is ridiculous. I just poison his artillery and whittle away stuff and win. But the way I wanted to play this game was, this was the new, after the Arcane Journal came out, so I wanted to test out the Stag Lord and the new Law of Magic, which the Law of Magic is fantastic. And the Stag Lord, the Fighty Stag Lord, is really, really good. So I kind of brought a list that was going to run at him a bit more, which made the game a lot more enjoyable. But if you flip this to when me and Alex Searle, second shout out, Old World Behemoths, when we met at the old the last Old Hammer in round 3, and he was running the Dowie list, and I was running Poison Spam with a dragon, and we sat at 32 inches away, and I poisoned his artillery and did 50%. Or I whittled down his block of Iron Drakes to get 25% of their points, and I won 11-9, and it's arguably one of the least enjoyable games of Warhammer I've ever had, and that was against someone that I know is fun to play against. So that for me just kind of solidified that there has to be hard ground rules for when you play socially. Don't turn up to annihilate your mate with the stronger list, because you want, like, I don't know, it can't be how you have fun in this game. But it is super fun when you level the playing field. But so this is the same scenario, the standards one where you get it into their deployment, and if you have more standards. So he had 1, 2, 3 standards. I had 1, 2, 3, I think, also. He annihilated my Glade Riders with a Grudge Thrower firing indirectly, and Wild Riders were never really meant to survive. But the one standard bearer did survive. They lost to the scouts, somehow broke free, and he bolted over here to the top right corner, and 3 remaining scouts were just like peppering him with shots and eventually brought him down. But if he lived, and that was turn 5, I think, or maybe turn 4, and if he lived, I would have won that game. We drew in the end. We both had one standard left, and that was it. We drew, and we almost had the exact same kill points, but I would have won 13-10 if I had that one guy left in that top right corner. So the swing from it is huge. So you absolutely have to build to the objectives for anyone who is heading to these tournaments that have, big objective-driven packs.
Yeah, I think that the first one has more play because the tower affects how units work. So you can sort of you're going to need something to take the towers because there's 2. If there was only 1 tower, it'd be different, but there's 2. And it not only creates like a +4 chance for the guy who can get 2 units in there. On top of that, it creates a combat zone where if you're just trying to shoot, it's not going to do enough. The shooting's better than you think against the tower, but like that Beastman Wood Elf game, they can just come forward, and that's what Beastmen want to do. So you just have that initiative, and it's playing into your hands that, there's going to be earlier combats, or you're just going to give this ground to me, which is going to mean that the towers are easier for me to occupy and then defend. I think with the third one, it's more strategic in that you really need to look at the list. And this is an underrated part, I find, of playing well at tournaments anyway, because I didn't have access to a list in the second round last time. And it's not like I was outplayed in that game. But in my mind, I match up how I'm going to deal with things, like what I have. Like, do I need my wizard to dispel their stuff, or should I focus on casting my own spells out of dispel range? In this case, you're going to need to count their standards, and you're going to need to think, what's the gap? And if the gap is in minus to me, I'm going to have to go and kill those things. And if your gap is plus, you can make your opponent play have so many disadvantages by playing around the forest, all this other stuff, because the advantage is so massive. So, yeah, to me, I'm sitting on 4 standards, I think, which is a bit of a hedge. But I find a lot of the armies, like Lizardman, I just gave up on because I'm like, I just can't get good standards, really. And that's what I worry. Even the demons, I felt like I had to compromise my list too many for standards. But you can go into Bretonia, and everybody's got a bloody standard.
I think I've got in my Orcs and Goblin list currently, I think I have 5, and I think I could go to 6. And I think that's honestly what a strategy that a lot of people should try and do, because you can, you still have to fight. But if you have 2, all it would have taken was having 2 standards left on the table for me to take that out in a convincing 13-10 result. That's a swing.
Yeah. And the maneuverability in this game is so big that's what is hard to manage. At the end of the game, they can just go, I'm going to march this way. I've got a musician, I'm going to march like a dwarf. with the musicians on leadership 10. So even though it's not going to march very far, if it makes it into like a forest or something, you may not be able to catch it in 2 turns just because of the way the game rules work. So you've got to be able to either win the standards strategically or have an army that can go and kill things that have standards. And not everything in this game can go and kill stuff like dwarfs. Like you're going to have to then, if you're a dwarf player, I would imagine you need 6 standards. So against the field, like I know you and Mike are playing more casually, but if you're coming into that event, which is interesting because does that then neuter, like what you were saying, when we talked about comp earlier, but the reality is that, like, yeah, it's scenarios that help to water down these things like Death Stars, which, yeah, are unenjoyable because the less sort of stuff you have going on in the game, the more you just skew to what's the most abusive thing in the list. Like, find the best unit in core, find the best non-core unit, find the best characters, play them.
Yeah, and speaking of characters, as we've mentioned, 25% character cap in this Old Hammer tournament, and the one you're running on Sunday. But I'm growing and waning on it. Initially, I thought it was fantastic. I think the huge part of the game is there's way too many powerful characters. I think that's known and true. But 25%, I think, could do more damage than good because I'm currently building an Orcs and Goblins list for Old Hammer. I think they skate through pretty well. You can still bring a Wyvern and a level 4, and the Wyvern has got 2 saves. And the level 4 has a Lore Familiar. There's lists that can do that, and there's lists that can't. And maybe it's my biased opinion of Wood Elves, but building a 25% character cap with Wood Elves is atrocious. You can bring 2 level 4s, which no one wants to play against, or you can bring a level 4 and a captain on a stag who just gets annihilated by anything that is strength 5. And I think 33% would give more of a balancing act because really what's 25% taking out the dragon and the level 4 or the ridden monster and the level 4. But as we saw in your comp pack, like the broadness of comp tends to have a lot of casualties in it. And I've only used that one example of Wood Elves, and maybe that's just a flash in the pan, but I'd say High Elves is pretty similar, would become pretty weak.
At 25%,
yeah.
I think unplayable, yeah.
Lizard Men can't take the Slann and the Carnosaur. For me, that is unplayable. Like that's you felt your list felt weak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're any good either. High Elves are good otherwise and drop massively because you either give up the magic or give up the dragon. But also your special units are just shit. Like, sadly. So, like, if your special units are no good, and surprisingly, yeah, like, what else? There's a number of armies I was surprised, like vampires are in this boat. A lot of the legacies in this boat, where the special units aren't necessarily that much better than the core. Like, you're not like, yeah, now I can take this. Like, Empire, yes. Warriors, yes. Like I sort of said earlier, Beastmen have interesting things in core, but apart from Dragon Ogres, which you're taking every list, anyway, yeah, I don't know.
I built a list today with Wood Elves that had my full allotment of 1,000 points in special. And I was like, this list is weak as shit. Like I had 2 units of Sisters, 2 units of Wild Riders, a unit of Treekin, a unit of Wildwood Rangers, and a unit
Wood
of
Elves have
Hawk
terrible
Riders.
rare as well. That's
Yes,
the problem.
that's
Like, they have
real,
fun special stuff that's probably better than the High Elf stuff. But when you get to rare and you get Sisters of Avalon and Loth and Skycutters, they're good for rare.
Yeah, but enough about Wood Elves. I've had my.
But it is interesting. Like, is it like if you were giving underappreciated armies their time, which is what people were hoping with the Renegade pack, but I don't think that's what's happening. I do enjoy the games more because there's more units on the table and not like you can't get away with.
Is there like the dwarves? I just showed you a photo of Mike.
I guess against Mike, yeah, you had that. But I find with the Warriors list, I've just got more stuff. I mean, I'm not playing just 25%. I'm playing it always with those objectives in mind. So I've always got 5 Forsaken, standard 2 Marauder Horsemen. Like I'm hedging with smaller units so that I can capture towers and win the standard objectives if I have to. So it's, yeah, if I played like that, I would have more units. I've found to have more units. I mean, you've got to with less characters, but I think Death Stars in general just, yeah, are on the nose for me like dragons. I mean, I've maintained that as well this whole time.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I do want to just share another photo because I'm still flying that 1,000 point 1K battle flag. This was the second game I played against Mike, which is the second time I got my orcs on the table against his Heralds of Darkness. And it's still really fun, 1,000 points. When you play it when you've got the right spirit behind it, it's so much fun. Like this was over in, I want to say maybe we scraped an hour, but we played the 2,000 points game first and then played 1,000 after. And it was like, I remember clearing the board from that 2,000 point game, Wood Elves versus Dwarves. And I was just like, I forgot where I was putting stuff. And I was just like, oh man, I'm so like out of it after playing the 2K game. But playing the 1,000 point game was just so like cleansing. It was just, and it was Heralds v Nomadic War, which is like a dream come true for me. We didn't have the 25% cap in this game either. So, but that was because Mike wanted to bring his 350 point Chaos Lord on a demonic mount. So I brought my Wyvern, and they had a nice little duel in the middle. They didn't do any damage to each other, to be fair, but the rest of the stuff ran straight into each other, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wonder if it's got legs. I'd like to bring it back for the next tournament we do again, like in a team's structure. I could think that's it. Like after this but it's just whether or not you do have to restrict it to 25%, like in a competitive setting. I feel like, yeah, I mean, I know you guys didn't max 50% characters, but someone will. Like, you know, like, what is the limit for it? Because playing it last time, it felt like there were sort of still like, people would still take powerful things, but I don't know, maybe you just live with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's got legs for me. As I said, I went first, and it finished at the end of my turn 3. Like chariots were charging chariots with countercharge. Chosen were beating up boar boys. Goblin chariot was running into marauders. Like just the narrowness, and we've touched on this before, the narrowness of the board just forces the issue a bit. And I think you could totally get away with a 4x4 or 5x4 2,000 point game. This was, I think this was 1,000s. This was 4x3. Yeah. I think you could take honestly a foot of width off the board for a 2,000 point game, and you'd get away with it, no problem. It would.
Well, I think for 1,500, which I'd like to go back to at 33%, is 4x4. I think that I wouldn't mind. I liked 1,500 the most at the time when we played that before. Like I just felt like the games were faster. 2,000, 2,000's great, but yeah, it does still take a lot of time, a lot of space. If you can get 1,500 done in 2 hours, or less even, maybe. No, probably 2 hours. But 4x4, maybe 4 things of terrain, not 6.
Yeah.
It's just, sharper, roll more dice.
Yeah, which is what we love to do.
4x4 is just harder to organize with logistics of mats that come in 6x4s. Like, what's the AOS one? It's like 60x44 or something. It's just
60x44, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Though it was pointed out by Chris Shah, which I thought was fascinating, that there is no actual size for Warhammer. It's just recommended, and it's not even recommended 6x4. It's just a relic of how we've always played. Because I do think, like what we talked about earlier with comp, that the levers, like you can't change the rules, you can't change the lists anymore. In my mind, you might be able to do some soft percentages of what you can take, but yeah, I think some of these other vectors might be worth looking at. Like space has always been an interesting one to me.
I think we'll probably start looking at those things, to be honest, in our games. We're already, as you mentioned, just as we wrap this up, we're working on a few scenario-based games, particularly based around the Wood Elf Beastmen Arcane Journals, which should be really fun. I'm painting up I will soon be painting up both Orion and Araloth. So what I've learned from those Arcane Journals, and they put out that that almanac every time they release an Arcane Journal. Not once do they ever mention this should make your unit really strong in an event or a tournament. It's always I read the Wood Elf one, and it actually wasn't a terrible read. It was a short thing, but it was all about fluff, flavor, and lore. And I think that's kind of where we're going to go down to find the balance and the fun in the game. Put hardcore restrictions on it to create fluff and flavor, and then play out a narrative rather than hoping to run away from a dragon for 6 turns because your friend wanted to smash you with a dragon.
or the person who's not your friend.
Yes, which is even worse. Yeah, or is it?
Opposite of being a friend.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Is it worse? You can put it in the comments. Is it worse when your friend kills you with a dragon?
Yeah.
Or when a person that you don't know and maybe don't like that much kills you with one? The dilemmas.
Something to ponder. But we'll wrap it up there. Al, thanks for your time, and we'll be back again soon. Don't forget, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to go a little bit further, our Patreon Patreon link is in the description to this video. So we'll catch you next time. See you guys.
Become a member and support the channel. Old World Tactics, Battle Reports, the 2 Plus Podcast.